The U.S. men's national team is set to kick off its second World Cup match this Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, against Australia. And for all of the preview and to talk a little bit about the U.S., it is a joy to welcome in former FC Cincinnati and U.S. men's national team player Greg Garza. Greg, appreciate you spending a little time with us today.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Can't wait to speak about this fever of a World Cup we are having so far.
We certainly have been. And Greg, I mean, the U.S. had a dominant first performance there, the 4-1 victory over Paraguay. When you watched that game, what was your maybe biggest takeaway from this U.S. squad, and how would you kind of maybe expect the U.S. to come out and build off of that first win?
I was actually in New York City doing a media tour for Major League Soccer and pumping up the U.S. men's national team and the league and just the representation of a lot of MLS players playing in the World Cup. And I was pumping them up from the get-go, 2 days before, the day before the game, just really putting in everybody's ear that, hey, this can be a moment to where we can have the backing of our people, we can have the backing of our fans, a country coming together and really pushing our boys to success. And everything worked exactly how I said. I'm so glad that we had such an incredible performance, potentially and probably one of the best performances I have ever witnessed of the U.S. men's national team at any level in any tournament that they have ever played. So extremely excited to see what they can do in this next big match against Australia, but very proud to call all of ourselves Americans after that first dominant match against Paraguay.
They certainly made a lot of us proud. And when you look at this U.S. team, I think it's safe to say there are pretty high expectations for this group regarding this World Cup. But having a 4-1 win, the way they came out and attacked, just what does a match like that kind of maybe do for this group's confidence now moving forward in the tournament?
A huge confidence boost. I mean, one of the most important things that you need from players is for them to be confident, for them to be consistent. And that's going to be an important word when they go through this long journey of what this World Cup is. There's a lot of days in between. It feels like forever ago we played that very first match against Paraguay. And then the second thing, or the last thing, the third thing is that you need everybody committed. It is going to take all 26 players to step up, have their opportunity, and pitch in whenever they can. You have Christian Pulisic, who's kind of been day to day, who had a very good first game, but if he is not available or if he's dealing with some nick or nag, you still need somebody else to step up and do the job. So I'm interested to see and intrigued to see just how we continue the consistency throughout the longevity of this tournament. And you have an amazing opportunity against Australia to do so.
They certainly do. And in that opening match, Folarin Balogun had the brace, really coming on and emerging himself as almost a household name at this point. Everyone's talking about him and this team across the country. What impressed you about the way he showed and performed in his opening match?
This is a tournament to where stars can emerge. We have seen a lot of different players from a lot of different countries, whether they're gaining 10 million followers overnight and you play for Cabo Verde, or just Mr. Balogun, who I think we all know as Americans. We've seen him play with the U.S. men's national team before. We know he can provide and produce and play to such a top level. And I think he took that opportunity. I think sometimes we've kind of questioned that consistency around his play whenever we've seen him before. Just how he does on the club level. He plays at an extremely high level each and every weekend and week out. So for him to come in and kind of put his name on the map, I would say in a worldly manner, has been very exciting to see, especially as a fan. But once again, I think that main word that I'm going to be looking for is just that consistency within every single player, including him and those big names that can produce a lot of different talents on the field.
You mentioned Christian Pulisic, one of the huge names on this U.S. team. As of Thursday afternoon, weren't quite sure yet what his status would be for Friday's match. He's been dealing with a left calf injury. Greg, if Christian isn't able to go against Australia, just how big of a blow would that be for the U.S. and how might they have to adapt without him on the pitch?
Yeah, this is what this tournament is all about. You need other guys to step up, and as I said before, you need all 26 players on the roster to have the opportunity to come in and make magic and make things happen. And that's the uniqueness of tournaments. You need the whole entire team, and when you are that 26th man, sometimes whether you're Mr. Sendejas or whoever you might be, Pepe, who can step in and play different positions and be adaptable in those areas. But I do think there's a lot of other players that can come in and get the job done. But you are talking about what we call so-called Captain America, somebody who can change the game in a split second, somebody who I think over the course of last season we had seen kind of go through maybe a plateau or a dip within his club form, and just the start that you wanted him to have as such a star player that he can be with the national team. So it takes every single player within a tournament. You, like you mentioned before, you see players emerge and become this massive star player from nothing, and that's what we want. We want those players that maybe we haven't seen too much before to come in, get the job done, and create a name for themselves as we continue to move forward with this national team throughout the longevity of this tournament.
I love that he has the name Captain America. It feels so fitting for him. And when you look at Pulisic and just the difference that he makes out there when he is on the field for this team, what is it about his game and the way he's able to spread the ball and, really kind of, command the attack? Why does he make this U.S. team better?
Yes, he is. He is a to cap off the Captain America. He is a very good looking dude. He does have the chin to be Mr. Captain America as well. You need that nice defined jaw, and I feel like he has that to perfection. I always joke around. There's not too many people who have bigger chins than I do in terms of having that Captain America jaw. But very very exciting player. He's somebody that it's now almost been, if we look back at it, it's almost been a decade now that he's really taken over and kind of developed this leadership role. He's a veteran now on the team, which is really odd to say because I still feel like he's young enough to still produce so many different things within his career. But I would say the biggest thing that I see from him is just his energy, the energy level that he has. The very first touch that he had in that game against Paraguay, he just skinned his defender over and over again. He was taking risks. He was really taking it to him. And just, I think that energy that he provides, that quickness, that when he has the ball at his feet, there's very few players that can be faster with the ball at their feet rather than having the ball and making, or not having the ball and making runs in behind. And he's that player when he does have that ball at his feet, he is able to kind of just change into those different gears of speed and really break defenses and break lines with that intensity that he has in dribbling. And I think that reels defenders in and allows other spaces to open up, which we saw that happen many different times in Paraguay. So, someone who is extremely exciting to watch play.
Yeah, he's an absolute difference maker, like you were just saying, when he is out there on the pitch, and certainly hoping that he can go Friday afternoon for the U.S. But, Greg, when you look at this Australia team, maybe what's one of the things that stands out most about the way they attack, and maybe what's a weakness or two that the U.S. can maybe take advantage of?
Yeah, I think definitely a big upset of their win against Turkey. We definitely did not expect that. But that's the beauty of this tournament. There's been a lot of different upsets throughout the whole entire tournament. Australia, from what I saw, was a team that was extremely compact, a team that is very good defensively, and then have a few players that can really change the game. But other than that, I think if you are able to just be very patient, to be persistent, and then, the biggest thing for me, I think, is just using the crowd, using the background noise of what you will have to push you forward. And there is nothing greater as a player to hear that noise, to not even be able to hear each other when you are playing, but just have the backing of the crowd. And I think that'll be the maximum force that this team can have. And you saw it in that first game. The energy of the stadium, the noise within the stadium is what pushed those players to have that kind of hype throughout the whole entire game. And that's a beautiful thing to see, a country coming together and pushing the boys forward. What else could you ask for as a player? So that'll be the biggest thing that I think that they can use to get this W.
The atmosphere and energy that we've been seeing across these host cities in America has been truly special. And like you were just saying, sometimes you can't even hear the guy next to you. So, regarding that, I mean, just how important is communication going to be, especially for the back line going up against this Australia team?
Yeah, I think the back line did amazing the last game. I think one of my favorite players to watch right now is just Chris Richards. His ability to lead, his ability to get stuck into tackles. He doesn't take anything from anyone. He has earned and gained his respect, I think, at the world level. Just coming off winning the Conference League with Crystal Palace. So someone who I love to watch as a former defender, just because of his grit, and I think that just serves as leading by example. I think you need those leaders such as Christian, such as Chris, and Tyler Adams, who also has that grit and desire and passion in every single play. Those kind of moments, they are able to just be contagious with all of those players around them. And that's something that you need when that energy and when that vibration in the background noise can be so loud. You need those players to step up and really lead by example and lead by action, getting stuck in and kind of creating the momentum for you to push yourself forward. And you have that within this team. And that's the beauty of watching these players emerge into fantastic leaders, but just also use their experience. I think Tim Ream is also a great example. Maybe not as gritty, but always the first pass out of the back. But his experience also calms everybody down whenever the game needs to be calmed down. Maybe that just might be the experience that he has of playing for so long. And as we get older, we slow down a little bit in terms of our thinking, and you need that balance within all players. But I think there are many different moments that these players can lead each other throughout the entirety of a game.
With the U.S. serving as host country for the World Cup for the second time, I mean, one of the favorite things I've really enjoyed the most is just seeing on social just the different European fans over here taking in different American experiences, really getting into the different stadium, like you mentioned, the atmosphere and energy that these stadiums provide. How impressed have you been with so far with the way America has been able to host this World Cup?
I am rooting for all three nations. I think I've sounded like a broken record in every interview I've had, or every time I've popped on TV or spoke with any news outlet. I am rooting for all three nations. I think that is the importance for all of us here in North America to root for Canada, to root for the United States men's national team, to root for Mexico, although they are our biggest rival. We have done such a fantastic job in hosting the most important, the biggest tournament in the whole entire world, right? That in any sport that can happen. So I think the host nations have done an incredible job. The people have done an incredible job. Everybody behind what this tournament signifies and means have done an incredible job to make this inclusive, to make it diverse, to bring people together. There is no other sport that can bring as many people together as soccer can, and we have that within the beauty of our backyards. I was able to attend the Spain and Cape Verde game, and to see patches of blue for Cabo Verde was incredible. To see the Spanish fans treat them with the immense amount of respect was incredible. I even said at the end of the game, I felt like there were even Spanish fans rooting for Cabo Verde to pull off a bigger upset than just a tie. So I think it's a way to where you see other cultures, other nations come together and realize how beautiful our countries really are. And like I said, I will root for all three nations. Obviously, we'll be very biased towards our own nation of the United States men's national team because I played a part in that. But rooting for all of the other nations that are hosting.
You're spot on. The host nations have done a phenomenal job so far, as have the host cities, in Atlanta being one of the host cities for this year's tournament. You played in Atlanta for the United. Can you give us maybe a little glimpse into what the stadium energy and atmosphere is like down there in Atlanta? And I know I'm certainly hoping that the U.S. could potentially play a match there later in the tournament.
I really hope so as well. It'd be one of the final stages to get there, and I think why not? Why not us? Why can we not be able to have that opportunity to be in those final stages? The Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I would say, my probably top two stadiums within this tournament so far. I have not had the opportunity to attend a game at SoFi, but just from the looks of it, those are probably my two favorite stadiums so far in terms of the modern stadium of what they can be. I always refer to Mercedes-Benz Stadium almost being like a space shuttle, or it's like you're inside this spaceship and you are watching this spectacle played a little bit further away from you. It doesn't necessarily give you that intimacy of being in a European style stadium to where you have fans that are almost 5 yards away from you and you feel like they can touch you, but or grab you or kind of take the ball out of your hands if you're taking a throw in. But it is an absolute spectacle. It is one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever been able to play in my whole entire life, and winning a championship there was indescribable. There are no words that I can put in front of me or out of me to really explain what it means to play in such a beautiful stadium, and I'm so glad it's highly represented within this tournament. And we have to call it Atlanta Stadium, although in our hearts and in our mind it will always be the Benz.
Yeah, I still can't quite get over the different stadium names for this tournament, but that's okay. Greg, I do have to ask you about Messi. In Argentina's opening match, he goes off for the hat trick. 20 years to the day of him scoring his first World Cup goal. It's just, he is such a special player, and the fact that we get to watch one of the best of all time. I mean, just what is it like really getting to watch greatness happen in front of our eyes? And then, a layer beyond that, Argentina looking to defend its title. Just how difficult is it to defend a World Cup title?
Yeah, I think the most beautiful part and the coolest part is that we have him along with 44 other players representing the MLS within this tournament. And to have and to say, I would never fathom the idea that Lionel Messi plays for an MLS team and is playing in the World Cup. That is something that is unimaginable, something that I think is, as a league, we can be extremely proud of how far and how much this league has grown. But to have so many players representing their countries and representing their communities, the coolest part is whether you're from Cincinnati or whether you're from Atlanta, there are players that you support week in, week out that you are watching now representing their countries at the highest level. That is the coolest thing. It's, I was watching Croatia and England, and you had Busa score the second goal for Croatia, tying the goal and shedding into tears. But he plays for FC Dallas. So, all of these players emerging into stars, but they're representing our league at the highest level as well. So, for Messi to be a part of that list of the 44 and carrying those players along with him, is he's one of the greatest of all times. I think we can all be very proud of what our league is representing within this tournament.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredible to see that there's that many players from MLS in this year's tournament, and FC Cincinnati represented by Miles Robinson. And, you played for FC, and just growing the game and the sport across the country and America. Just how important is this next couple of weeks stretch going to be when it comes to just getting, new fans' eyes on the game and really trying to grow and elevate the sport here in America?
Yeah, first off, Miles was a great teammate of mine with his time in Atlanta, so it's always really cool to see former teammates having this unique opportunity to play in a tournament that I think deserves the utmost amount of respect. They will carry that with them for a lifetime. To tell somebody that you have played in a World Cup is by far the biggest accomplishment any player can have, and even for these smaller countries, I think is immense. But I think this tournament is allowing people to watch the game even more, and will continue kind of that reaction afterwards to maybe have more people pay a little bit more attention to what the MLS is. And, as far as it has grown and as much as it is growing right now, this is such a unique opportunity to kind of create that feverish vibe and hype of the eyeballs being glued to the TV. Every bar that I have been to, even though I don't drink, but going to a watch party, or every hotel I've walked into with all of this travel. I took my son to the barber shop yesterday here in Sarasota, just some random barber shop. They had like 8 TVs, and everyone had all soccer playing, whether it was a live game, whether it was news about soccer. It is so cool to see. You would have never expected that. I know the last time we had a World Cup was 1994, but as popular as the sport is right now, I don't think it ever has been. So I have Canadian friends that only religiously watch hockey, that have sent me multiple texts, just pictures of them on their couches watching, Uzbekistan play, or against Colombia, or just the most random game that you would never expect them to ever watch, and they are having their eyeballs glued onto the television. So to see that boom of what we have created with this sport, we're talking about the most popular sport in the world, and sooner or later, I'm sure it will be the same thing here in our own country.
Yeah, and hopefully that continues not only during this World Cup stretch, but really beyond too. And Greg, before I let you go, I have to ask, give me a bold prediction for US against Australia.
Bold prediction. I do believe it will be 2-0 for the U.S. I think that they are just going to get by this group with flying colors. I think that they have really shown, and been attested to showing their talent within this first game. And the biggest thing, like I said, is going to be their consistency. It's going to be that consistent demeanor that they have of not just doing it once, but doing it over and over again. And if you have the likings of them doing that over the course of these next couple of games, I think you can see them make a massive run. But I am going to count for a win, 2-0. I'm going to go Mr. Ricardo Pepi getting a goal, and I'm going to go with Balogun getting a goal. I think Mr. Pepi will sub in for Balogun, get his goal. That I think he set himself up for a couple of good spots when he did come on as a sub, and I think Mr. Balogun will continue that consistency. When you're hot and confident, all you're just thinking is just to be that selfish person in the box, and I think Mr. Balogun has that selfish mindset that he can put things away.
I love the prediction. Not only the shutout, but the goals as well. Balogun could quickly be moving up the ranks there for most World Cup goals by a U.S. men's national team player. Greg, awesome stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And, hopefully we'll be talking about a U.S. 2-0 victory over Australia.
Hey, I'd love to be on anytime. Thank you guys so much for having me. And yeah, let's root this country on to the final stages. And you never know what can happen after that. Thank you so much.